is a safe book.
Well, what led you to tackle those subjects, those female teenage angst subjects?
That made people uncomfortable. You talked about sex, you talked about getting your period, you talked about bullying, things that people go, oh, I don't want to talk about that.
Yeah.
As an adolescent.
Really, I was writing for pre-adolescents. I mean, all of those early books were for the tweens, up to age 12. That's what I was interested in. And I remembered so well what it was like to be that age, and I just vowed when I started to write, because I didn't know what I was doing, I'm going to be honest. I'm going to tell it the way I know it. And that was it. I wasn't writing about, menstruation or masturbation. Well, I mean, what kind of book would that be? I was writing about a kid, and a kid of a certain age, and that was what happened.
But the New York Times said about you, she's not just revered, she's a revolutionary.
Good we don't think about that at home. As my husband said, I'm tired of the goddess. When do I get you back?
But to Charlie's point, what Nora was saying about her childhood, I've seen people literally move to tears, Judy, in your presence, about how your books have affected them. Yep. What does that support mean to you? How do you take that in and wrap your brain around what you mean to people?
I can't wrap my brain around it, but what I feel at that moment is, grateful. I'm incredibly grateful to my readers, and I cry with them because it's very emotional. And I always say to them, the reason you're feeling this way is that I represent your childhoods. I bring back your childhoods, and it's very touching.
That's a really nice way. Thank you for bringing back my childhood today, Judy Blume. What a pleasure.
Who is this season? Who are you excited to talk about?
Man, I know this sounds cliche, but I really, I'm always excited to talk to anybody who has something interesting to say. But people ask me this question, and I never truly have an answer, because 95% of the people I've spoken to, I didn't plan to speak to. But then when it happens, you're like, oh wow, I got to, sit down and have a conversation with this person and that person. The one person I do want to interview, like before life is over, is Judy Blume.
Wow, why is that?
Oh.
I mean, because my mother's an English teacher, and when I was younger, she would always tell me to read things that don't pertain to me. And like, there was nothing that was like the opposite of being a young black man from the South than these white women, these young white girls that we would see in these books. So I would pick up mad Judy Blume books, and I would just read them all. Plus, I used to love the Book It program. We had to read 4 books, to get a free pizza. So I ran through so much Judy Blume and so much Beverly Cleary, and I just felt like, she introduced me to the art of storytelling in a real way.
Wow.
Like how you could talk about things that have socially redeeming value, but do it in a very entertaining way. And so I don't know, I've always wanted to have a conversation with her.
Breaking news for some of you folks listening to me right now. When school ends is when the learning actually begins. All right, you have to unlearn a lot of the habits and a lot of the shit that they taught you in school in terms of, as soon as you graduate, you have officially made it. As soon as you put the cap and gown on, you officially made it. You have to unlearn that shit. Unlearn that concept. Forget it. It is not the truth. It has left a lot of people heartbroken, depressed, and it has ruined, that mindset has ruined many lives. The learning starts when school ends. I'll give you an example. Just yesterday, and one of the things about this new center that I teach at, it's called the Creative Center of Education. One of the things that I love, I've only been there for coming on, it's going to be 2 weeks tomorrow. It's going to be 2 weeks next week. Not even 2 weeks yet, and one of the things I've absolutely, so we're still kind of in the honeymoon phase, I understand that, but one of the things that I know I love, that I know that will never get old, is the fact that I am surrounded by so many books. One of the things that the center prides itself on is making sure kids are able to read by kindergarten, read chapter books by kindergarten. They make sure that happens, all right? So I was there, the kids are off for winter break. We as teachers still have to come to work and do some office work and stuff like that. And I was there yesterday catching up on some things, or I was actually organizing books and fiction, nonfiction. And one of the things that's absolutely beautiful about doing that, me, myself, being an author myself, it just allows me to get in touch. It gets me in touch. It puts me right back in my mindset in terms of how am I going to move my books? How am I going to sell my books? How am I going to, strategize and sell more, put this bundle together? I mean, so much. I could see myself growing in so many different ways at this center. It's not even possible for me to put into words right now, all right? But anyway, so I'm organizing books, and I noticed a book that was sitting on the shelf from an author whose name really just kind of struck a bell. Her name is Judy Blume. Judy Blume. And I looked at the book, I'm like, yo, that name is kind of triggering something. I heard that name somewhere, right? So I looked her up, and I remember Charlemagne the God, another one of my virtual mentors, the author of a book titled My Blackness, Be Grateful for My Blackness, or something like that. It was like Be Powerful Blackness or something like that. He's basically talking about, it was the name, it's great. It was either Grateful for My Blackness, Unapologetically Black, or something like that. He has a ton of stuff out, but the book, I did a book review on it, and it's the title of it, the official title of it is slipping my mind right now. But anyway, I went, and the reason I'm bringing him up is because once I heard the name Judy Blume, I looked her up, and I realized that she was one of the people that Charlemagne mentioned when it comes to who he wishes he can interview. Some of the people who he wishes he can, I mean, you're talking about a guy that has absolutely, he's made it. He's made it in the broadcasting world, has so many books out that I'm forgetting the titles of them. He has made it. And they asked him, who do you want to interview that you have not yet interviewed? And he mentions Judy Blume, who is a children's book author who writes about white girls, little white girls going through puberty and shit like that and stuff. And I was like, what? Judy Blume, of all people, that you wanna interview. So I did a little more research. I dived even deeper into it, and I realized why. That there were times in which her books were actually banned by people. I realized that she had gone through it. There were times in which she didn't think she would make it. I mean, she went through 3 marriages. She's living off of her literary sales in Key West and with her 3rd husband and all that kind of stuff, and has just done incredible things. And the thing that got me as I was watching her interviews and how famous of an author she is, I realized, you know what, man, as much as I've done, as much as content and much things have I created, there's still so much to learn. And I'm a 34-year-old man. I'm still learning. This is long after I graduated school. And it brought me to this message, this thought, this Move Swiftly thought. One of the ways in which I promote my stuff is through the Move Swiftly thought, the daily Move Swiftly thought, the Move Swiftly podcast, the boxing lessons, the bundles, whatever it is, the makeitmove.com, all those things. And I realized, hey, there's still shit you can be learning. It's a lifelong learning process. And I think